Hello everyone, name is Vikas Tiwari and I am from Invent Model. So today I, Kalpana and Pratiksha are going to explain you about Informatica MDM on premises. So let's start with the topics, what we are going to cover in this video. Informatica MDM basic introduction, like what is Informatica MDM for beginners, you have to understand. And Informatica lending and staging process, the most important stage we are going to perform in Informatica MDM, which is very crucial point. And delta detection and audit trial, why we are doing delta detection means whenever we get the new data, how it will get detect to store the new data. And audit trail, how many records we are going to store in our table. So these things we are going to cover: cleansing list, cleanse function in Informatica MDM, load process in Informatica MDM, what is load process, and trust and validation process we are going to explain. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So MDM basic introduction. First of all, I want to introduce that Informatica is a platform, and Informatica MDM means master data management, where we are going to manage the master data. So first of all, we are going to understand what is master data. Master data means the huge amount of data we are collecting from different sources for the same person, for the same company, we can say. Or so to manage those data, we use this tool, Informatica MDM. To centralize and manage master data means collecting the data from different sources and centralize it into the one source to use by the big organization, and which ensures the accuracy of the data. Means the data is correct, data has no any faults, and the consistency of data means data is flowing correctly to all the processes, and reliability of data, that data is not missing. So key features, data governance and data quality tools. It means Informatica is a best tool to manage the huge data, and scalability for enterprises of all sizes. It means the any amount of data it can handle. Integration of multiple databases and application. It means it can use different databases like Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL, any database it can use, and any ETL tool to extract, load the data the Informatica uses. Okay. So if we are going to understand the architecture of MDM, how does it work? It means, first of all, we have to collect the data from different sources through the ETL tool. ETL means extract, transform, and load. It means it extract the data from different sources, and after the collecting the data from different sources, we include the data into MDM to do these things to refine our data. Okay, so after doing this, we have to do different things within the master data management Informatica. Okay, these are the basic things like business managers, data steward, administration, hub console. We are going to cover all these things, and the business perspective, hub server, process server, active was server, and database level MDM hub, master database, operational reference store, and active was database. Okay, after doing all these things, product information management, Informatica PIM. These are the advanced topics we are going to cover in this lecture or upcoming lecture. And supplier portal. Okay, so after doing the refining of all the data and making it the golden record, we are sending the data to the supplier portal. So MDM architecture is just these things, like we are going to collect first the data from different sources, and going to refine the data into MDM and send it to the supplier portal where big organization will use the data. Okay, so I would like to ask Kalpana to introduce the landing and staging process, which is the important stage of Informatica MDM. So Kalpana, you can explain now.
Kalpana, you are in mute. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, landing and stage process are the initial process of the MDM. First, we start with the landing process. In landing process, we have to create a three kind of table. Like first table is landing table, second table is base object table, and third table is stage table. In landing process, three tables are comes. First, user will start with create with the landing table. In landing table, we create the landing table with the columns that we want in the database, like customer ID, customer name, customer address, customer mobile number, and SRC system. This is the most important column that we need. By this column SRC system, we can filter our data in the stage process. So first we create the landing table, then after that we move to the base object table, where we also create the column, add the column that we add in the landing table. Then we like customer ID, customer name, address, mobile number, and SRC system. After that, we need to create a source system, because stage table is the child table of the base object table. So first we need to create the sources. For that, in the model section, we have a like system and trust option. Here we create the source system. If we create the two source system, then according to that we created two stage table. Like source system and stage table are equal to each other. We create three source system, then we create three stage table for each source system. After creating the source system, we move to the stage table. For each source system, we create the each staging table. So this is known as the landing process. After that, we move to the stage process. Stage process is the process where we move the data from landing tables to the staging table. In the backend, we use Oracle database where we add the data in the landing table. Then our need is that we move our data from landing table to staging table. Here we use some mapping functions, some cleansing function for that stage process. So now we create our stage process. After that, we need to create the mapping for the each stage for the each stage table. For that, in the mapping section, we need to create the mapping for the each stage table. Here, in the mapping of the stage table, here one important column, which is query parameter. In the query parameter, we can filter our data according to the source system. That like on the basis of what source system we need to fetch our data from landing table to staging table. After that, we move to the batch viewer. In that batch viewer, we have to run the batch job for the stage process. After running executing the job of the stage process, then we can check in the backend in the database that our data from landing table will move to the stage table according to the filtration, like each of the source stage table. So this is known as the stage process. Can you change the slide? Yes, this is the flowchart of the landing to staging process. Like here we can see source system for that we do in the first we create the landing table. After creating the landing table, we go to the base object table. For that, we need to first create the source system for that. And after that, we move to the staging table. We can do load as well. After that, we move to the base object table, and we can get our data in the base of the table and consolidate data. So these are the flowchart of the staging process. Like we have a raw table, reject table as well in this in the database, xref table, reject table, and there are some more options like match key table and match. These are the another process which we can read further in the upcoming sessions. We can move ahead.
So this is the simple flow chart. Okay. So as Kalpana has explained, thank you, Kalpana. So this is a basic landing table. We started our MDM. Okay, so we get the data from the business side and store it into the landing table first. And after the landing, we do mapping. As Kalpana has explained, a staging process will trigger. And after the staging table, what we do a cleansing function. Cleansing function means if there is any fault in the data, we do erasing the unwanted data in our data set. So we have to do cleansing function. We will explain this in our next slides. So after cleansing the data, we are going to staging table by stage process. And if the data is not in our condition, then it will go to the row table or reject table. Okay, so these are the child tables, we can say. Okay, and after the loading process, it will go to the base object. Basically, landing, staging, and base are the important tables of Informatica master data management, where we store our data to manipulate, to transform, to change the data, to make the data as we want. Okay, so these are the important tables, we can say. Landing is just a one table for all the sources, and for different sources, there are different staging table, we can say. Okay, it means if we have two sources, so there will be two staging table. Understand? So after that, we do loading process. And loading process, it will go the data firstly XRF table, which is cross reference tables. It include the last update date. And after the XRF, it will go to the base object. And within the base object, we do the advanced things, which is tokenization, we can say, and match and merge. So we will understand this in our upcoming slides or lectures. So let's move to the next slide. Delta detection. Delta detection means what does it mean? Delta detection means we had applied the stage table which collect the data from landing to the different staging table according to their sources, right? So if we have, suppose, new data are coming from the business side, we are getting, so we applied the delta detection. You can see the UI of delta detection here. Enable delta detection, we have to enable this. What does it mean? Firstly, we have to understand, or it means if there is new data are coming in our landing table, and we have to update those data into the staging, not other data, which is not changes. Okay, so that's why we have to enable this delta detection. It detect the some changes in our data and update the data into the staging table. That's why we enable this. Identifies new or updated records in the landing table and ensure only changed data is processed. Okay, not the unchanged data. That's why we do enable detection. You can see detect deltas using specific columns. We can specify columns. In this columns, if the data is changes, so we can update the data in the staging table. It means it's a if and else condition, we can say. If last update date has changed, then it will update the data into the staging table. If it is not, if it is equal, then it will not change the data into the staging table. And the second one is audit trail, we can say. Audit trail means, suppose I have shown you this table, XREF table. XREF table means which stores the last update date of any data. So if we want that only two data are stored, okay, only in this case you can say three loads. Okay, so if we want that three last records I want, and before the three records I don't want those records, so I can specify the number of loads, how many loads I want in my MDM storage. So we can specify this in audit trail. Like if I'm updating, if I'm running the job of load, then it will store only last three loads, current and previous two. So it will store only three updated records, and before previous those records, it will gone out. Okay, so audit trail means maintains a history of changes in row table. Collect and collect those records into the row tables and tracks duplicates and rejected records, you can say. So, and also we can say a stage is a truncated table. Truncated table means whenever we do the stage job now, then it will delete all the records and update the new record. And it doesn't delete permanently. It will go to the row table and PRL table, which is the child table, we can say, of stage, correct? Which comes under the data detection and audit trial case. So I would like to ask Pratiksha ma'am to explain this cleanse list and cleanse function. So Pratiksha ma'am.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. So in cleans functions, we have different set of functions that are basically used to clean the data. Clean as in we like, for example, in names, sometimes we get the data that has special characters and spaces in the name. So, when we don't want those characters, special characters in the name, so we use certain string functions like ltrim, rtrim to remove the spaces from the left side and the right side. And we have certain padding functions also for the string to address the string content. And then so these are basically the pre-built functions, and we also can have certain functions when we want to customize themselves according to our own use. And we also have the other set of functions like the math functions, for example, the absolute math.abs, math.floor, math.seal. So these are the math functions that we can use. Then we have certain miscellaneous functions where we have the now function to give the current date, and we have the reject function to reject the data that is not required. And then we have the read database function. So read database is basically like a lookup function where you have the source and you have the target data that you want to find from the source. So these are the certain functions. And the other functions, like we can see in the screen, we have the noise filter function. So this kind of functions basically helps to reduce the noise. Noise is basically the unwanted data that we don't want in the data that we want to clean. So these are the set of functions. And yeah, can we move ahead? Yeah. So who's going to explain this?
Yes, ma'am. Load process is that I had explained earlier. Load process is nothing but whenever we have to load the data from staging to the base object, we have to only run the load job. That's it. Overview means moves data from staging to the base object in the hub store. Okay, it stores the data from staging, different staging tables to the base object, and applies trust and validation. We will going to cover this trust and validation rules to ensure data reliability. Means what kind of data we are receiving, what trust value data we are receiving. And stage table is truncate table. We had I have already said it deletes the data before loading new data set, correct? And update existing record based on trust scores. Trust scores we are getting from the business rules, and it inserts the new records into base object. Base object is a single table where we do that things like tokenization, trust and validation, and matching and merge. So we are going to cover these also. So Pratiksha ma'am, you can explain the next topic, which is trust and validation.
Yes, so in trust and validation, so first I'll cover the trust, what is trust. So here we have, so basically what trust is. Trust is like a score for the data that is in the best consistent form, and we want to actually work on that kind of data. So their trust is the score that is given to the certain set of data that we get from the business, basically. So here in MDM, Informatica MDM, we define the trust by going to the system and trust. And from system and trust, we have to set the trust as like trust score that we want to give, and also the trust decaying pattern. So this decaying pattern is of three types, that is linear, slow initial, rapid later, and rapid initial and slow later. And this we can also see in the graph that it shows that what kind of a pattern it is having, the linear or the other two types that I've explained. So this is for the trust. And after we define the trust, then we also have to synchronize this with the so that it gets reflected. So we run the synchronized job. And how to see the trust value? Then we have to go to the data manager. So over there we can see the trust value. But for that we have to create two packages before. That is the display package and the put package. So after having those packages created, we can see the trust value from the data manager. Next comes is the validation rule. So what is validation? Validation is basically these are the rules that are applied to ensure that we have the high quality data. Like we already have provided the trust value, but to ensure that the data that we are having has high quality and consistency. And so what do we do here? We have a certain set of rules where we kind of downgrade the trust value. So what we do is we have to select the column. So first we go to schema, then we have to go to the columns for the base object table. Then we have to select which all columns we have to use for the validation. So we click on validate. So after this, we have validation rule, like what kind of a rule we want to apply. So after selecting those validation rules, we have to run a revalidate job so that it is able to reflect on the data. So that's how, and sorry, I forgot to tell about the table that gets created for when we define the trust. There is a table called CTL that gets populated when we have the trust values. And for validation, we have two tables, that is the VCT table and VXR table. VXR is the cross-reference table. And how do we know that the validation gets implemented? We have a column underscore VOK. So here, if it is 0, that means the validation is applied. And if it is 1, so it means the validation is failed. And we have two other columns where it is underscore VPC, where it shows the percentage, that how much percentage we want the validation to, the trust to decay. So if it is like the trust is given as 90 and the VPC is 50%, so the trust would decay. The minimum value would go to 50% of 90, that is 45. So it would be like that. And there's another column value called RMT in the validation table. So it is reserve minimum trust. So if we give this value, then the VPC value would be overridden by the RMT value. And so if it is 1, that means the minimum trust is applied. And if it is 0, that means it would take the VPC value and not the RMT value. So that's the whole process of trust and validation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pratiksha ma'am. This is all for the first class for the introduction of what is Informatica Master Data Management. So in the next upcoming lectures, I would like to share the screen of Informatica MDM also to show you the whole process, how we are going to lending to stage and the base object, and how we do the trust and validation detection and audit trail. So this is the first class for introduction of Informatica. So that's all from my team. I, Vikas Tiwari, Kalpana and Pratiksha. So thank you so much.